What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Toyota Save Mart 350 Top 5 DFS Picks video for Sunday, June 12th at Sonoma Raceway for our second road course race of the 2022 NASCAR season. As always, I am your host, Chris Pennell. You can find me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16, and this video is presented by PrizePicks. In today's video, we are going over general track strategy, how to approach this slate from a DFS perspective, and my top 5 favorite plays on the slate. Please keep in mind this video is being recorded pre-practice and qualifying, so some of my thoughts and opinions on these drivers could end up changing throughout the weekend. So making sure you're staying up to date on what happens on the track Friday, Saturday, and Sunday will be very beneficial to you in creating fantasy NASCAR lineups this weekend. And if you want the up-to-date info and analysis, you can find me and Jason on the Awesemo Live Before Lock show. We'll break down the entire slate, answer any questions you may end up having. And as far as how we should approach the slate from a DFS perspective, the strategy this weekend is a little bit unique compared to what we've been doing because we've been at a lot of intermediates or short tracks. We're pushing upwards of 300 to 400 laps, which means dominant points were usually pretty important those weekends. But road courses, since they're kind of slow, we're turning left and right, and they're pretty large in length. We don't typically run too many laps. We're just right around 100 this weekend. So dominant points really aren't going to be that important. So that means we're really focusing on finishing position and place differential for the most part. And pretty much we see the same guys typically run well at road courses because they're so unique, and some drivers just really excel at them and some tend to really struggle. So the drivers that I do talk about in this video, no matter where they qualify, I'm still going to have interest just because they're some of the better road course racers in these series. Looking at drivers that were fast at COTA earlier in the season, which is the only really comparable track we have so far for 2022. Any other road courses as well are something I'm certainly going to be looking at when building lineups this weekend for Sonoma Raceway. So moving on to the picks, we'll start with number 5 here, and I'm hoping he's going to be a bit of a sneaky play, but it's Erik Jones at $7,500 on DraftKings and only $6,500 over on FanDuel. Doesn't have quite the name value, especially at road courses, but he's actually been one of the better drivers at them in recent years. Some of these numbers do come when he was in the 20 car for Joe Gibbs Racing, which is obviously better than what he's in now for the 43 car with Richard Petty. But with the next gen car and road courses really not mattering too much for equipment, I definitely think this will suit him well this weekend. But if you're looking at his numbers at Sonoma, 12.8 average finish, he's got a couple top 10s mixed there. And if you're looking at his past 10 races at road courses in general, he's actually averaging the second most DraftKings points per race of all drivers, only behind the GOAT Chase Elliott, a 13.4 average finish and several top 10s. So at $7,500 on DK, $6,500 over on FanDuel. As long as he is not starting inside the top 10, I think he's going to be one of those drivers that can certainly offer us some place differential upside. And if he does start pretty high up, it's just going to lower his ownership, which makes him a pretty good tournament play. And moving on to number 4, it's another driver that I think is a bit too cheap here. I think he should be at least around $1,000 more expensive, but it's Alex Bowman at $700 on DraftKings, only $1,700 over on FanDuel. And he himself, while he isn't really known as an amazing road course racer, he still gets the job done very similar to Erik Jones. I'm kind of viewing them as somewhat similar plays, as both finished inside the top 10 at COTA earlier in the season. And Bowman was actually top 5 in average game flag speed and brought home a top 3 finish, finishing second, only behind Ross Chastain. So I think Bowman's definitely in a pretty good spot here no matter where he ends up starting. He's finished inside the top 10 the past 2 road course races. Also has 2 top 10 finishes here specifically at Sonoma. So his price point, definitely someone I'm considering in all formats. And moving on to number 3, we have a rookie here, Cindric, at only $8,400 on DraftKings, but all the way up to $11,000 over on FanDuel. So a little bit easier to stomach over on DK, tougher to get there over on FanDuel. And I feel like he's going to have some pretty low ownership over there because of that massive price point. We obviously know Cindric doesn't have quite the name value, but he is one of the better road course racers of all the Cup drivers. I know it, like I said, he doesn't have quite that name value, but in the Xfinity series, he had 4 road course wins. He had several top 5s, and all those Cup numbers aren't amazing so far. He's got 4 Cup races with an average DraftKings points per race of 12.9 and an average finish of 20th, but he's had several issues. He's had one of the best cars in a couple of those races, just ended up running into issues, which absolutely killed his day. But at $8,400, I don't really care where he starts. He can be a contender to win this race, and I'm hoping it was a little bit overlooked just because he's priced around drivers that have a lot better name value, like Tyler Reddick, Kurt Busch, Kevin Harvick, and hopefully that will help slide him under the radar and be an excellent tournament play if he happens to start close to the front, which he usually does because he tends to qualify quite well. And before we get into our next pick, I will talk about our sponsor, PrizePicks. Here they offer daily prop-based contests. You can use promo code Awesemo for a $100 first match deposit bonus. There's no sharks, optimizers, or mass entries. 5-player lineups can add to 10 times your entry fee. Use your knowledge of multiple sports with cross-sport entries. You can download in the App Store, over on Google Play, or on prizepicks.com. Use our free player props tool to help you make the best selections. You can get 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum when you sign up and make a deposit over at PrizePicks. And you'll receive your email within 24 to 48 hours after to redeem your free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. And moving on to number 2, we have probably a somewhat popular driver here every time we're at a road course. It's Allmendinger, $8,800 on DraftKings, but up to $11,500 over on FanDuel. Kind of the same exact situation for also Cindric, where it's a lot easier to get there on DraftKings, but FanDuel definitely makes it a bit tougher, so that should at least lower his ownership over there. But any single time we're at a road course, you have to have interest in Allmendinger. The guy's one of the best to do it out there. He just won an road course race in the Xfinity Series last weekend at Portland. And if you're looking at his past 2 finishes at road courses, it obviously doesn't look super impressive. 33rd at Coda and 38th at the Roval, but issues happened there. And honestly, at Coda earlier in the season, he was potentially going to win that race or at least finish top 3. He got into a battle with Ross Chastain. Alex Bowman at the end, they ended up playing bumper cars. Allmendinger ended up getting into the middle of that and ended up getting dumped to where he finished 33rd. But don't let that fool you. He was definitely one of the best drivers in the field, and he was running up front for the majority of the day. Does have a road course race win in the Cup Series recently, and that was at Indy. So he can definitely get the job done, and we've seen several times where he can run up front, even though he's not maybe in the best car out there, the 16 car, but the equipment doesn't matter too much, and especially with the next-gen car, that definitely neutralizes it even more. So Allmendinger at that price point, I'd expect him to be popular, but you got to talk him up every single time we're at a road course. And finally, my number 1 play for the Toyota Save Mart 350 at Sonoma. It might be surprising to learn that this is not going to be Chase Elliott for me. Every single time we're at a road course, you almost feel like you have to talk him up. But it's actually going to be Ross Chastain for me. $9,800 on DraftKings, $12,000 over on FanDuel. Don't get it twisted. I still like Chase Elliott, but I think Ross Chastain with this next-gen car has definitely been the guy to beat this year. He won at Coda earlier in the season, had one of the best green flag speed marks. I don't see why that's not going to happen again. The only concern I would have about Ross Chastain are external factors that I can't control or project. Because last weekend, if you're watching that race, he got into some feuds with a couple drivers. So maybe a guy like Denny Hamlin happens to retaliate during this race. But like I said, you have no idea how to project that or if it's even going to happen. So I'm not going to fade Ross Chastain in the event that it might happen. Because if it doesn't, I think he's definitely going to have one of the top cars in the field, if not the best car. Won the race at Coda, like I said, a couple months ago, had one of the best green flag speed marks, and actually has become pretty solid at road courses. Has a couple top 5s now, a few top 10s, and so far this year, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better driver than Ross Chastain or a faster car, averaging the most DraftKings points per race, second best average finish, only behind Kyle Busch, the best running position, the most top 5s, has a win under his belt, and some of the most dominant points. So being below 10K always seems like a value for me for Ross Chastain. Probably should be the most expensive driver on the slate, or at least close to it. And when he's not, it seems like value to me. And I like his odds over at plus 1,200 to win the race as well if you are in a legal betting state. So just to recap, at number 5, we have Erik Jones. At number 4, Alex Bowman. Number 3, Austin Cindric. Number 2, Allmendinger. And number 1, Ross Chastain. All these guys are either fast at Coda early in the season or just great at road courses in general. If you did end up enjoying today's free content, all I ask in return is if you can leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet already, and feel free to leave a comment down below agreeing or disagreeing with any of the takes I had, as we love to hear your thoughts and opinions over on the Awesemo, as we know our members have tons of knowledge that they can help bring to us. And if you want to follow us over on Sunday for the Live Before Lock show, me and Jason are breaking down the entire slate post-practice and qualifying so we can give you the best knowledge that we have, and we'll answer any questions you may end up having. But with that being said, I wish you all the best of luck, and I'm looking forward to the second road course race of this season.